Figuring out your studio apartment layout can be tricky. It's funny, for such a small space, decorating a studio apartment can be quite intimidating. Like a little baby monster that's adorable but has sharp teeth. Like this adorable little baby monster. But here's the thing. Once you unlock the right layout for your particular studio apartment life is amazing. And what once felt like a little monster becomes a beautiful unicorn. And I know this from experience because I lived in a studio for 5 years, and not to toot my own horn, but I made that space into quite the unicorn. So in this video, I'm going to give you some studio apartment layout ideas that will hopefully get you started in making your own little unicorn of a studio. And if you're new here, my name is Steffi, and on this channel I talk about apartment styling tips, cozy living, and the joys of living alone. So if you're into that, consider subscribing and giving this video a like. So let's go over these common studio apartment layouts, and maybe you'll walk away with some inspiration for your own studio. So the first common studio apartment layout I'm going to talk about, I call the row. This is where the bed and the couch are side by side, sort of forming a row. And then the TV or desk area is across. So you might be living in a studio where the bed and the couch just have to be holding hands next to each other. And that's fine. It can look really good. Here are some examples of the row layout. And here's a real-life example of a studio apartment currently listed here in Seattle. And this particular studio lends itself to the row layout. Now, as you can see, it's a nice little apartment. Love the dark cabinetry. And they did a fine job laying this out, but this is not how I would lay out this studio. And the main reason is because the TV is in a very uncomfortable place where no matter where you sit, you're really gonna have to crane your neck to watch this TV. The only place you could really comfortably enjoy watching TV in this placement is if you sit right in the crook of this sectional. Everywhere else is uncomfortable. And if you have people over, there's really only one person who's going to be able to comfortably watch the movie that you're watching. So I would rearrange this studio in the row configuration. So that would mean moving the couch against the same wall as the bed. So they're side by side, holding hands. And then I would move the TV over to this small wall area. Now, of course, this is not ideal, but a lot of studios have this kind of kitchen that runs along the length of the studio. And this is especially tough to deal with in terms of figuring out the best placement of furniture. So allowances must be made. And in my opinion, the best way to comfortably enjoy the TV would be to put it on a media console of some kind. Then at least you can comfortably watch it from the couch against the opposite wall and a little bit from the bed too. If you're not much of a TV watcher, then the TV won't really dictate your furniture placement the way it does for me and for a lot of people. So maybe the way this apartment building laid out the furniture in this model apartment would work just fine for you. The ideal studio apartment layout is different for everyone. So let's arrange our studios so that we are comfortable no matter what we're doing. The next studio apartment layout I'm going to talk about is something I call the triangle. This is where the bed is against one wall, and then the couch is diagonal from it to some degree, and then the TV is across from that. Here are some examples of what this can look like. And then here we have another real life studio apartment listing. This one is in LA, and I'll show you how I would lay this one out using the triangle. That was a circle, the triangle configuration. So first of all, how cute is this apartment? I mean, what studio apartment has a fireplace? But this space, as charming as it is, would be very difficult to lay out. As you can see, there are all kinds of angles to work around, and you also have this little kind of nook over here that leads into the closet and bathroom. But this is when the triangle configuration can really shine, because it's all about placing things in sort of diagonal, interesting situations. So if it were me, first you can put the bed in this little nook where the headboard is against this far wall. And then from there, you could put the couch against this wall next to the fireplace, nice and cozy. And then the media console with a TV on this wall. It's 3 separate points that form a triangle. The next studio apartment layout I'm going to talk about is what I'm calling the stack. This is where you stack the couch against the foot of the bed, and they both are facing the wall with the TV. So it's like a stack that goes bed, couch, TV. And this real life example I'm going to show you is a studio that's currently listed in New York in the Chelsea neighborhood. And this apartment really lends itself well to the stacked arrangement, which apparently the building management thought the same. So you have the bed up against this wall, and then at the foot of the bed is the couch stacked against the bed, and they're both facing the TV. What's great about this configuration, I guess at least for me as a TV junkie, is no matter where you sit, you're facing a television, and that is always a good thing in my book. And really, if this were my studio, I would probably lay it out just like it is here. Another thing I would consider is sort of flipping it. So putting the bed against this wall and then stacking the couch against it, and then having the TV against this wall. A lot of people prefer that their bedroom be as concealed as possible in a studio, so it would probably, for most people, be better to arrange it the way it is here. But I am of the belief that when you live in a studio, you just have to fully embrace the fact that you live in a studio. There's no hiding that your bed and your couch and your kitchen are all sharing the same space. So I would just accept that and not really be too concerned with concealing your bed. I mean, how many people are you having over? Like, privacy isn't exactly a concern, you know? At least not for me. I don't mind people seeing my bed. So to each their own. I don't know. You don't have to hide your bed, is basically what I'm saying. This next layout is what I had in my studio, which I'm calling the couch divider. This is where you have a floating couch situated alongside the bed, sort of forming parallel lines with each other. And in this arrangement, the couch acts as a kind of divider that divides the bedroom area from the living room area. There's an Instagram account that I talked about in this video. She's called Girl Gone City, and she does this layout as well, where she has her couch floating, running parallel to her bed, and it acts as a kind of divider between her living room and her bedroom. And here's some more visual examples of how the couch divider configuration can look. And for this real life example, I have another Seattle studio listing, and I think this one would be a great opportunity for the couch divider layout. And as you can see, the building management arranged this in what I call the row, and I actually don't think the row layout would be the best fit for this studio, at least judging from this. If I were moving into this studio, I would consider basically copy pasting my old studio layout into this space. And the reason is because you have this piece of wall right here that you could put a TV against. Notice how they don't even factor in a television in this layout, which is just unacceptable to me. So I personally would create a layout that makes this a more television-friendly space. So I would move the bed closer to the window, and then I would have the couch floating parallel to it, facing this wall, which would have the TV. Again, pretty much just what my old studio apartment layout was. And the last common studio apartment layout I'm going to talk about is what I'm calling the hotel room. This is where a studio is so small that you can't fit both a couch and a bed in it. So you basically just have a bed, and that functions as your bed and your couch, like a hotel room. You could also potentially have a fold-out couch, and that gives you some flexibility so you can have the couch and the bed at the same time. I personally, I just know myself too well, and I would find that to be a huge pain in the ass. The manual labor of pulling out the bed from the couch. So, you know, that's the last thing I want to do when I'm tired and I want to go to bed, but you might not be as lazy as I am. So I would probably opt for the sort of classic hotel room scenario with just a bed and just embracing that as my seating area as well as bed. Look at this shameless little harlot. Hilo, what kind of video do you think we're making right now? Anyway, this real life example is a studio that's listed in LA, and this is a little baby studio. As you can see, they don't have a couch in sight, and frankly, it would just be really hard to fit one in here. You could potentially get creative, but just the way this studio is configured and just how small each of these walls are, I would probably just accept that this is a hotel room studio. I just had to change my camera battery, and I decided to pour myself a little brandy. So cheers. So anyway, as I was saying, this studio would probably require the hotel room treatment. I mean, you couldn't do the row because both walls are too short to fit both a couch and a bed. I don't think you could do the triangle because it's just too small for that. You definitely couldn't do the stack because in no way would there be room to put the couch up against the foot of the bed. And you definitely couldn't do the couch divider layout because, I mean, obviously that wouldn't work. So it is my professional opinion that this studio would require the hotel room scenario. So So those were 5 common studio apartment layouts that you can consider for your own studio. I know one of the hardest things about moving into a studio and making it flow nicely is just figuring out how to arrange your furniture. It might be the hardest part. And if you want more studio apartment inspiration, specifically from when I actually lived in my studio, then I recommend you watch this playlist. It's filled with all of my videos that are specifically about studio apartment styling tips, and you'll definitely walk away with tons of studio apartment inspiration and advice. Say goodbye, Hilo.